hear me out. Can we capture the wormhole, shrink it without reducing its power, and use it as a bonus reactor?
I was thinking of that as well.
Because to quote Darth Vader, there's always room for another reactor.
Oh, blimey. Well, on that note, welcome everybody to the second part of episode 2 of Star Trek Adventures USS Navis. And we've hardly started, and we're already talking about, rather than rescuing the crew of the Atlantis from the wormhole, we're actually looking at utilizing the wormhole as a future power source in order to make this overpowered ship even more powerful than it already is. This is going to be a tone, I think, that directs us for the rest of our, well, of your Starfleet careers.
Saying that we don't rescue them, we could do, we could rescue them while we're harnessing it.
Yeah, either that, or we just end up being decommissioned. Oh, not decommissioned.
Losing your
discharged. Yeah,
the greatest ship in a bottle.
Yeah, we become discharged. At which point we steal the Navis and become a bunch of pirates raiding around the Federation territories.
Playing the bad guys.
In Star Trek.
Wait, I thought Starfleet was the baddies.
Yeah, the Federation's the bad guys.
Yeah, it's like a repressive environment. They don't let anyone get ahead. There's no financial system in order for people to better themselves. There's constantly hitting their planets with plagues, where the only cure is the rarest substance in the world that's positioned on the other side of the galaxy. And they have an entire subsection of the very species that makes up the core of the Federation repressed just for the way they were born.
Once again, are we the baddies?
I don't think there's any question about it.
The USS Navis with all the school memorabilia down the side of the ship.
Tally marks.
We're the good guys. These are how many innocent civilians we've murdered. Yeah.
Well, on that note, okay, is everybody signed in to Foundry?
Yep.
Yes.
Pretty much like. Do we have everybody on Video Ninja who wants to be?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yarp.
Okay, is everybody getting sound through it?
Yep.
Liddity beep,
Yarp.
liddity beep.
Yep.
I like that. Liddity beep, liddity beep. The marching sound of Starfleet. Beep, liddity. Before I go down that particular tangent, let me stop myself right there. Okay, we're all in, we're all ready. Awesome sauce. So, as a quick recap of where we were, you had been given the mission to investigate a distress signal, which apparently came from a ship, the USS Atlantis, which dated back 210 odd years, back to the time of the Earth-Romulan War. So, Starfleet was rather unsure about how to handle this, so they sent your ship, the Navis, which has a multi-purpose build, I suppose you could say, to it. And upon reaching the Ramaldi-Tamnor system, where the signal was coming from, you found a wormhole, which was causing gravitational and time-related fluctuations. The distress signal was coming from a shuttle pod, which had landed on the third planet, and apparently the Atlantis itself is stuck within the wormhole itself. Now, you did beam down with an away team to try and see if there were any survivors, and you found one. Only one. And he was in a bit of a state, having suffered from not only the isolation, but also apparently from drinking the local water supply, which has, something of a psychotropic effect on the human anatomy. So he was pretty much having a bad trip when you met him. And it has to be said that when it came to methods of dealing with him, yeah, Lieutenant Commander Andrews pretty much dealt a finishing shot to him. It's just as lucky that that phaser was on stun.
Well, you're already at 10 threat. We don't want to give you any more.
So, yeah. But you managed to incapacitate him without killing him, and you also managed to get inside the shuttle and find his personal logs. So you found what he had been through. And he had originally come down with about 3 or 4 other individuals, I think it was 3, and he'd lost each and every one of them. Particularly one of them had, 2 of them, pardon me, had unfortunately died as a result of a certain aggressive moss that grew on the planet, which of course Dr. Bertram was extraordinarily interested in.
No idea how annoyed he was he didn't get to take a sample back.
You did get to take a sample of the water back, so that will help. And then, as you were all beamed back aboard the Navis, straight to sickbay, you managed to put the survivor on a sickbed, and just as that happened, the whole ship rocked, and we had red alert sound. And the...
Oh, he's changed the bulb.
You're not that hard up for money. This is still a relatively new ship. Whether or not that continues to be the case, we shall soon find out. And so, yes, the ship rocked violently, and so the senior staff have been asked to report back to the bridge. And so it is that we start part 2 of episode 2. So, as the bridge crew get back to the as those who are part of the bridge crew who are on the awaiting get back to the bridge.
Do we replace Lieutenant Bravo in our positions?
Lieutenant Bravo, yes, was the supporting character who accompanied you to the planet last time. So he's
the discussions that we had. There's that they're all Lieutenant Bravo. There's like 8 of them, wasn't there?
I think I kind of settled on the idea of quintuplets just to make it so that there's not too many. But yes, we had the supporting character Lieutenant Bravo, who's a betazoid, telepath betazoid, who is one of 5 identical siblings who are mentally very attached to each other, and they tend to speak. Each individual speaks of themselves in the plural. So that's not at all a ploy by me, the games master, to make it so that I can have additional supporting characters with exactly the same token.
It's called optimization.
Thank you. Allocation of resources.
We have replicators.
Maybe I replicated. Maybe it was a transporter accident. A lot of that going on. In any case, Lieutenant Keval Fazanan, who's the Helm operator, didn't go with the away team, so he was actually got a first-hand account of what happened. So as the away team bridge crew managed to regain their stations, they get the report back from the captain and from Lieutenant Fazanan that the wormhole has now expanded, and therefore its the radius of gravitational pull is now that much greater, and the ship is now being drawn in towards the wormhole. So, before we get stuck in, is there anything anybody wants to mention or ask?
Man, I think I stayed in sickbay while the rest went to the bridge because I was dealing with the injured person.
Correct. For my own ease, I'm going to switch us back to the bridge for a moment. I'm going to keep Dr. Bertram's token where he is, just so that you, Gareth, have still got sight going on the rest of the bridge, and you don't have to switch to the sickbay area in order to be able to get the access to your character sheet. So we'll stick to that for now.
Okay.
Anything else? Nope. Dokie, then let's fire up. Okay, so
To work the problem, will this anomaly affect different functions? Like, could we go to warp this close to a gravitational anomaly like this?
well, let's find out, shall we? So, we're in a bit of a pickle now. The ship is now being drawn out of orbit around the planet. It's being drawn towards the planet. The ship is starting to quake and shake a little bit, and there's more than a bit of structure stress starting to resound through the ship. So, what you want to do?
My suggestion would be potentially we slingshot ourselves off the edge of it, use it to gain momentum.
Any other?
Because we're going to burn a hell of a lot of power trying to either A, reverse the polarity of the shields to give us a bit of pushback, or use the engines, etc. to engage impulse, because I don't think going to warp near a temporal anomaly will be beneficial.
Plot the course carefully enough, we could use the initial go with the movement of it to enter that slingshot maneuver. But we'd have to be very careful with that.
We know what energies increased when it grew, because we could just fire counter energies into it as a pulse to try and weaken it enough to let us draw away.
Okay, so in regards to that question, you don't currently know.
Well, we did.
Scan for those.
Yeah, we did censor it before, so can we do it now and compare?
But now that you didn't want to get too close to scan it, because then you got within reach of the edge of the gravity well, and you just about managed to pull out last time.
Yeah, we did send the Class 1 probe in, though, didn't we? So we have got telemetry data of what it was previously. So yeah, it may be worthwhile, like you say, like Lieutenant Nova suggested.
I think that works out to being 3 different actions to take, then possibly simultaneously, isn't it? To get the readings off of the anomaly, to then work out if with a possibility of projecting anything back at them, and if so, doing it.
Okay, so
plotting a course using the gravitational pull to enter a slingshot maneuver, and then executing that.
My worry with the slingshot maneuver is if the anomaly should grow while we're attempting the slingshot, the calculations would be incorrect, and we probably risk entering it.
There is obviously the third option of we do enter it.
As I was about to say, is the third option being doing what we can to reinforce the ship for the event that we enter the anomaly.
So, what you gonna do? What you gonna try first?
I think get the sensor readings. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Sensor
the readings first.
which will then give us the plan of whether we take the slingshot, or we risk the slingshot, or whether we bolster the ship as much as possible, or attempt to reverse the engine, put as much power into impulse as possible, see if we can break free of the gravity well.
Okay, so the first thing we'll do is the sensors. So whoever wants to can attempt a reason plus science task, and this can be assisted by the ship's sensors and science.
I'm prepared to do that one if you'd like.
And if the ops officer, Lieutenant Nova, wants to assist as well.
Yes, please.
A reason and science task. So remember, when you assist, you only roll 1 dice. Let's see. Webby will start you off as being the one who gets to do the Navis.
And this is sensor operations role, so I've got to focus on it?
You do indeed, Lieutenant, get to use Lieutenant Natala's sensor-based focus. So remember to check that particular checkbox when you make that attempt. This is going to be a difficulty 0. So we got 1 success so far. We got another success from Nova and 1 success from the Navis. So
the complication though, you're gonna blow the EPS relays on deck 5.
So you had a full barrel of momentum last time, but each new session you lose 1. It was a complication 0 event, so you've already dealt 3 successes over what you needed. So you've got 2 extra momentum that you can use.
So I could use my talent to ignore that complication.
See, which talent were you going for?
The parent figure.
Okay, and just make sure you know what we're talking about. There it is. For those who don't know, when attempting or assisting, and 2 or more characters are involved, the first complication is ignored. Good. So, that means you don't have to spend one of those 2 extra momentum that you just generated over the maximum to re-roll that complication, which means you get 2 momentum to save to obtain more information. So, you managed to put a scan in on the wormhole. Okay, what you managed to discern is that you know that the USS Atlantis is currently caught in the eye of the wormhole, but there's also another ship. Now that the wormhole is expanded, you get a bit more of a view of this other ship, and this ship, this other alien, unrecognizable alien ship, still seems to be in the center of the wormhole. In fact, it may even be the cause. The majority of the gravitational output seems to be coming from that ship. To make matters even more strange, these spatial and temporal disruptions from the anomaly appear to be a direct result of the object, this unknown ship, being trapped in a state of both exploding and imploding. So, you've got 2 obtain information you can get for free if you want to use them to ask questions.
I would suggest, does the technology look similar to anything that we have a better understanding of? I mean, does it look like the explosion of a warp core, or anything that any does that we can understand of the explosion implosion have similarities to something?
It's like the Romulans use black hole generators.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Use micro black hole.
So that's an offer of a question. Is everybody else okay with that being one of the questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it is similar to the black hole generation of a Romulan warbird.
So, pose that question to me once again in a short.
Is the implosion explosion from the alien ship similar in technology to something else we might be familiar with, such as the Romulan propulsion method of the black hole generator?
The answer is no. This is something that is entirely unknown.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'll give you this one for free. The object is constructed from a completely unknown material. Nothing in the computer database on the various periodic tables matches the composition of this craft. So that's one question down.
The other one, should we go with Nova's original idea of trying to see if we could detect what kinds of particles it's emitting other than basic chronoton?
Or there's Is the wormhole itself stable enough for a journey through?
Okay.
Okay, so
Like, because we're monitoring the energies,
Well,
so
I was kind of thinking of could we potentially fire through the wormhole?
So, with one question remaining, what's the decision on the question that you're going to ask?
I think
stable enough to send something through.
Yeah.
Kind of covers both.
Everyone else alright with that?
Yep.
Okay. In that case, is it stable enough to send something through? Absolutely not. This thing is really, really unstable. It's terrifically unstable.
So this thing is both projecting this anomaly and trapped by it. If the anomaly were to resolve, presumably this thing would be destroyed. If this thing were to be destroyed, presumably this anomaly would be resolved. But I imagine that the anomaly is protecting, by whatever, whether intentionally or not, the thing that's projecting it. So essentially, if we can find any way to stabilize the anomaly, this whole problem ends as the ship gets finally destroyed and then stops projecting the anomaly around it.
At this point, the ship rocks. But you realise that wasn't a gravitational thing. That actually felt like something impacted the shields.
Can I perform a sensor sweep on the a tactical observation to see where the shield impact came from?
Yep, so you can make this as a control plus security aided by the ship's. That's going to be sensors and security. So, who hasn't a go yet? Jan, do you want to do?
God.
Sure.
Do you want to do the
Well, it's a night of complications.
It is.
That's the second 20 in not so long, so yeah, blimey.
I think we'll be fine. No one is screaming.
So yeah, I was going to say this is difficulty 1. You've got 1 success with complication. So, right, yes, there was a definite impact against the hull, as if something detonated. Where it came from, you have no idea. You've got nothing on sensors. Shields are holding, however.
Could it be a cloaked ship?
Yeah, something's gone through the shields.
Nothing went through the shields because you had the foresight of coming into the system at yellow alert. Therefore, the shields were up.
Oh, okay. So you said something impacted off the hull. That threw me.
It didn't impact off the hull. It impacted off the shields.
Okay, yeah.
Back to dish at work.
At this point, a second one goes off. This one rocks the ship slightly. Again, the shields seem to absorb it, but that was a definite detonation.
That seems like a torpedo to me.
I will start flying, I think, evasive patterns.
Okay.
Triangulate back from where the 2 shots hit us to a tension.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try Jan doing evasive maneuvers. So if I can get Lieutenant Thazanan to attempt evasive maneuvers by Jan giving me daring plus con, aided by the ship's engines plus con. So who hasn't had a go yet? Gareth?
It might be worthwhile Gareth does majority of the ship's rolls at the moment because he's not
on the bridge.
Yeah.
He's not on the bridge.
Fair enough.
He is the ship now.
Was that
I've got precise evasion. I've got the precise evasion talent. So, if I succeed in the evasion task, we can spend 2 momentum, and then the ship won't suffer an increased difficulty for attacks. So, if we then do identify an opponent, we could attack without increased difficulty.
That seems worth it.
Okie dokies. No problem. So,
control con.
So what
this
my
evasive
rolling?
action is going to be daring plus con this time. This is more of a seat of your pants type thing.
Daring and con.
And the ship is going to be aiding with engines and con.
Okay.
this will be difficulty 2.
Oh dear.
Good lord! Foundry
What
hates you
is
tonight!
Can we spend 1 momentum to re-roll that, please?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can spend 1 momentum to re-roll Jan's results.
So if you roll a double 20 now, it's like, yeah, we just
You can-
kill the ship.
Don't forget to add focus for Helm operation, which you already have. That's better. 3 successes.
Yay,
So
we
get
get
the
it back.
momentum back. At which
Did you
point...
forget to press engage, Faznan?
So yes, Lieutenant Fazanan scrambles to input evasive maneuvers from something that's not quite seen. However, I think Nova was going to try and see if they could spot what was going on. So you're going to need reason plus science, and this can be tagged with the ship's sensors plus science. So, Gareth, if you would care to do the honours of sensors plus science. This is going to be difficulty... This is going to be difficulty 4. Oh, good lord! Foundry really wants you to fail tonight, or at least succeed with cost.
Yeah.
So...
It must be Q.
Q is messing with you pretty heavy
So
tonight.
there's a bit where Navis goes, don't sense anything. Oh, God!
So, once again, Shaun, do you want to spend a point of momentum to re-roll your results? Is that a yay or a nay?
I think at this point, I'd
We
be
need to
half
roll
tempted to
with
say
it,
we've
but-
had we are getting complications.
We're going to get
We've got
20
things
every 5 dice.
Yeah,
I
let's just accept it.
think, yeah, just accept it.
Just accept it. Okay, so what happens next is Fazanan just basically wrenches the ship around to try and evade whatever's going on. Now, this costs you power. So if we go to the Navis, yep, already done it. The fact that the wormhole is dragging you in means that extra power has to be shunted into the impulse engines to try and drag you out of the way of whatever it is you're trying to avoid. Lieutenant Nova starts scrambling furiously to try and use the sensors to scan for whatever might be going on, but the gravitational and temporal distortions going on in the area make using sensors somewhat less reliable, and that's when a third explosive impact hits, and this one rocks the ship and sends everybody who isn't holding on to something just careening off to the side in very typical Star Trek fashion.
And this is why I took a seated position.
So, shields have taken a direct hit now, and shields have gone down. And
Can I
power has been
attempt
taken
to
out.
remodulate the shield so that the shield that's taken the impact is buffered by the others?
That would basically require a... Now, what was it to bring back? Shields. Starship system.
It wasn't to bring them back. It's more to the fact of to adjust the power. So obviously this one's taken a hit, so it accommodates so that the whole power is equal across them all.
Is he using the shields from the other side to cover the ones from this side?
Yeah, the ones that are below power.
Boop, 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 boop. Yes, you can. The shields, as a result, still suffer the same drain. So your shields have gone from 15 to 13, but you've shored up the quarter section of the shields that took the impact, which was the... Since your ship is essentially being dragged backwards, that was the starboard side shields. Okay. Now what do you want to do?
Is there likely to be any lasting impact from the impact? Basically, has there been any lasting failure anywhere in the systems, or is it just...
Well, if we go back to the map showing the ship, that trio of impacts has now brought the Navis closer to the eye of the wormhole, as your ship is being battered left and right.
Could these just be chunks of planet that are being pulled off?
You don't think so, because a chunk of planet would have a definite impact.
These are to be more like explosives.
These are definitely explosive impacts.
It's starboard, it's the left-hand shield that's being hit. Starboard, port
Right-hand
left.
shield.
No, yeah, sorry. Port left, starboard right, my bad. Yes, it is planet side.
Yeah. So screen left.
Correct. So,
Is it a case, alright, obviously we're going to continue to put more and more stress on the ship the more that we try and resist this. Yes, it's unstable, but is it a case now of let nature take its course?
Well, we've got to get... I think the anomaly is not something that's safe to be anywhere near, and the planet, or either something between us and the planet, or the planet is firing on us. So, is it possible for us to move further than we've been trying to move, rather than just evasive action? Is it possible to position ourselves on the other side of the planet and see whether that changes anything, and
try.
generally to get away? At least regroup.
try. How would you like to go about? Just want to put extra power into the impulse engines?
With at
Do you
least a
want to try and
plan
jump to warp?
of somewhere to go.
I really don't think jumping to warp is going to be
No, not
achievable.
advisable.
Because the warp field would probably collapse because of the gravimetric distortion. So impulse is probably our only option.
Yeah.
So-
And with impulse, we don't want to overtax the ship whilst it's under fire, because then we'd be a sitting duck for the next explosion.
So what if we did fire the energy pulse? We were going to try backwards, try and give us that bit of a cushion.
You could. What's it
Yeah,
to be, gents?
I think fire an energy pulse while preparing to put more power into engines. Just
Yeah,
give us
so-
a cushion and burn away.
Yeah,
It's a,
try
it's a
to
narrow window, but
yeah, I think that's a wise idea actually. Try to disrupt the energy, or the gravimetric. Hang on, what's the opposite? The graviton pulse they use, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so generate a graviton pulse whilst at the same time bringing the impulse engines up to probably about 75-80% power. So we're kind of pushing the anomaly, trying to close the anomaly while trying to fly away from it simultaneously.
and if we're lucky, that'll also burn us out of the way in the next shot, as it's not expecting us to suddenly jump forwards.
Okay.
Could we destroy the USS Atlantis and cause a shockwave
I
through
mean,
that?
scuttling the Atlantis would... The difficulty is that Atlantis is so close to the anomaly that it's very difficult to know whether it's going to similarly end up in the same state as the originator, where its destruction doesn't happen until things conclude. But it's worth a try.
Without the first-hand account of the guy down in sickbay, either we don't know if we're also dooming hundreds of Starfleet lives.
That's I agree. That's not really the Starfleet ways to destroy. There's potentially humans alive on board that vessel. We don't know at this moment in time.
However, since you have broached the subject, I will allow Lieutenant Natala to do another reason plus science check. Now that you've broached the theory. This is going to be a difficulty 0 check. This is Natala applying her knowledge of science, and
But there's a possibility of quantum mechanics.
I was going to say, throw in quantum mechanics in there as a as a focus.
You're talking about time dilation. Quantum mechanics is definitely a thing.
Guess what's there?
Oh my god!
Every roll.
Every roll!
Can we make it more complicated?
Maybe it's because it's relativity that's deals with time dilation, not quantum mechanics.
Captain, I believe the changes have infiltrated our ship and are masqueraded as all of our consoles.
There's a changeling down in engineering changing the button inputs.
Yeah.
Or, you know that the night shift who were supposed to be changing the signs around, they've actually not only changed the signs around to make it more difficult for changeling infiltrators, they've actually changed the control layouts.
Turns out I'm using tactical ops and working on science.
Who bought a luck manipulator on their last away, Jim?
So, yeah, it turns out that Andrews was using Nova's ops console. Nova was using the tactical console. Anyway, no.
I mean, we've got maximum momentum. We can reroll it.
You could definitely re-roll it.
Yeah.
Re-roll results.
Okay, okay. So is it, do I change anything on the reroll table, or do I just leave it as it is?
Leave it as it was, but remember to click the focus if it isn't already clicked, because quantum mechanics still applies. Better. 2 successes. So, yeah. You realise that, yeah, something like a photon torpedo, because it is a matter-antimatter warhead, would not be enough, even with quantum torpedoes. It wouldn't be enough to destroy the ship that seems to be the center of the anomaly. But if the Atlantis's matter-antimatter engine was detonated, that should have the yield necessary to collapse the anomaly.
Yeah, so we know that it probably would work, but whether it's something that we would do is another question.
So, there was another point. Use the graviton pulse. So, since Natala came up with the matter explosion to free or to stop the anomaly, I'm going to ask for Nova to give me a reason plus science check, aided by the ship, not Bertram, the actual ship. Bertram is the ship. Using the ships, let me see. Engines and science to generate the graviton pulse. This will cost... Ooh, there we go. This will cost a point of power. So the power is going down. Alright then. Okay, so... excuse me. You managed to alter one of the rear-facing phaser banks to emit the graviton pulse that you want. Graviton pulse? Graviton beam, it would be. In order to try and, at the very least, disrupt the gravitational hold that the anomaly has on you. You get a juddering, almost a jump forward, but it's a jump by about 1 kilometer, which in outer space terms isn't massive. But at the same time, I am going to say that with all those successes, what happens is, if we jump you to the map with the ship, the distortion effect that you managed to set up seems to also reveal something not far from your ship. It definitely looks artificial, and it's more like it's shape and its outline are
Not
revealed
a defense satellite.
for a moment. I'm going to allow... I go back to the bridge, take us back to the bridge. I am going to allow, let's see, Andrews, you're the tactical officer. You get a con plus security aided by the ship's... what's the best way to do this? Sensors and security, if Gareth can do that, please. This is going to be a difficulty 1 now that you've brought it out of hiding. Two successes already. No complications, good lord!
Bloody hell. Are we getting better at this?
Seems so! Yeah, Commander Andrews, you identify it as a cloaked mine. It's rather old, so your best guess would be it's probably a Romulan mine. From way back when.
I'd like to point out it was a Romulan mine. Can I fire on it?
What if we collected them?
At the
No.
moment, your power
Yeah,
has
I've got a
just...
plan.
He's got a plan.
Oh, we're going to use it to detonate the wormhole.
Well,
Yes, we are. Rather than blow up our own ship, we're going to collect Romulan mines, use a shuttlecraft to tractor beam them through the anomaly towards the exploding, imploding vessel, and hopefully that'll have enough of an impact on it to do the job.
so it cost you 1 point of ship's power to emit the graviton beam. It's costing you another point of power to start to use that graviton wake that you've just created to edge the ship forward by, like I say, 1 kilometer, maybe 2. Do you want to spend another point of power to try and fire something at, to fire a phaser at the mine?
I don't think, as much as it would be beneficial, I don't think it's worth it.
But rather than
These mines
phaser it,
are
let's experiment and use this mine and
Hang on,
push it into the anomaly.
Yeah, tractor beam, repulse.
Yeah.
There's
Fire
another
and
question
repulse.
of, has this been out here a long time, or has it been released recently? In terms of its own timeline.
Well, the first thing I'm going to ask is for Lieutenant Thazanan to now give me a control plus con task, aided by the ship's engines plus con, to dodge out the way of this mine, because you realise it is homing. So let's see if you can at least avoid contact with it first.
I think if it's okay, I'll spend a point of momentum just to add one d20.
Everybody alright with that?
Yeah.
Yes, till the complication comes up again.
That's what the rest of your momentum pool is for.
Do we have the deflectors
Oh my
to be
God,
working with
look
both
at that.
monotons
Oh, no.
and gravitons at the same time?
Do you have the ship's ability to, what was that, release
To-
gravitons and chronotons all at the same time?
Because we kind of need to keep using gravitons to keep ourselves away from the anomaly, but we kind of need to use chronotons to deal with Romulan technology, particularly given that Romulans from that time period wouldn't know that chronotons would reveal their cloaks.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with not currently no, because this is an Akira class ship and is therefore built more for
Yeah.
combat.
So
Combat
basically,
rather than design.
we would need to be you need to be very ready for when we turn off the gravitons, to start working with chronotons in order to reveal the cloak. Because
You would
as soon as we
more
do
than
that,
likely have to do some work on the main deflector. And
Yeah.
to use it on the mine, you would have to then spin the ship around to face.
yeah, I'm gonna go start working on the deflectors to be ready for anything we need to do, switching between particle emissions.
Right.
Now,
Now,
and
what
like
I
hot
will
switching
say,
back and forth.
what I will say is, Lieutenant Thazanan does manage to direct the ship away from away from the mine as it's trying to home in successfully. It does earn you a point of momentum back. However, there is then an alert as Sophia, that the ship audibly starts to groan.
God, Nova, why are you not looking at how many pterodynes the whole stress is under? God.
I thought that was Ascot.
As opposed to trying to break free completely, could we perhaps head towards Lagrange point, if there is one, between the planet and the anomaly?
Well, first things first, the sheer amount of structural stress you put the ship under, it actually suffers a breach on the ship's structure. So, roll with any damage. Whenever the structure system suffers one or more breaches, the entire ship shudders. Power conduits rupture, consoles explode, and personnel are hurled around. So now, I'm going to roll a challenge dice. If an effect is rolled on that challenge dice, then a random character on the ship will end up being injured. So,
bravo!
but which one?
All of them. We are Bravo.
Good news. No one got blown up.
Yay!
But everyone does get tossed around as all of a sudden the ship kind of twists almost. The superstructure kind of bends and twists with the gravitational shear.
You'd have thought Vibers would have fitted some fuses, wouldn't you? For power surges.
Yeah, well, at the moment, you've got Vibers screaming over the intercom. What are you doing to my ship?
We need more power!
Yeah, more power, Viber!
It's power.
I can try throwing power into warp power into the impulse engines. Do you want to do
I
that?
think it might be worthwhile doing so. Although at the I think, yeah, we need to, like Fazanan's idea of heading for the... See if there
Lagrange
is
point,
a...
or similar, the gravitational midpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to try and find a lee in the gravitational eddies, is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lol. Whew. Okay. Then you're going to need some assistance to get there. So let's see. You're going to need to find one, which will involve sensors. Natala was busy with trying to redo the
Particle hot switching on the deflectors.
yes.
Yeah.
Particle hot switching. I like it. We're gonna coin that term. So Nova, being the operations officer and also science officer, is going to need to use ship sensors in order to try and locate an eddy. This one is going to be control plus science, and the ship can assist with the same sensors plus science check to try and help with finding. This is going to be difficulty 2. However, when attempting a task using engineering or science, you may roll an additional d20 so long as you succeed at a previous task covering the same scientific or technological field earlier. I'll allow that since you did give a detailed scan of the
I was thinking we're messing around with the gravitational things a lot, so...
Yeah, I'll definitely allow that. The Navis gives you no successes. This is a difficulty 2, so it's all on Nova getting the 2 successes necessary. Do you want to buy?
Nope.
Never mind! She's all over this problem. Alright, 3 successes. Because of the sheer amount of fluctuations, yeah, you successfully managed to locate just a small gravitational eddy, a lee in the eddies, let's say, almost like less rough current in the waters. So now we find out whether or not Fazanan is. I say whether or not. How good Fazanan is at directing the ship into that eddy. So, ooh, is it going to be control or is it going to be daring? I'm going to allow control plus con.
Were you sweating, Fazanan?
We don't sweat, we come from a cold planet.
Yeah.
We freeze.
That's a good point. Do Andorians have sweat glands? They wouldn't. They'd have no evolutionary need for it because sweat can freeze on your skin. That's a darn good point. Hey, whoever said science fiction shows and role-playing games isn't educational? They were wrong if they said so. So yeah, the ship, I keep looking on Bertram's character sheet to see what the ship is going to do.
The ship is going to start healing itself from that wound.
Why the ship has botany as its focus, I'll never understand.
Don't hobby shame the ship.
So the ship is going to assist Fazanan's attempts to get out of dodge with an engines and con check. This is going to cost another point of power, as warp power is put into the impulse engines.
I shall use a momentum, unless anybody objects.
Nope.
No objections there, it seems.
Nope.
4 successes, you got it. With that
Let me just scooch up over here.
With that many successes, what you find is that you find the eddy, you drag the ship into it, and all of a sudden the gravitational pull is lessened. You nudge the ship ahead just a little bitty bit, so I'm going to throw us over onto the map with the ship in the anomaly. So you used to be kind of by here, you've edged the ship further along. The impulse engines are screaming murder at this point, and you watch as in trying to track you, the Romulan mine hits a different eddy and gets sucked right into the wormhole. Thankfully, it misses the Atlantis. It doesn't seem to hit the. Hold on a second. Hold on a moment. I'm going to spend threat. In fact, I'm going to spend 2 threat.
Is that even allowed?
That is allowed.
Wow.
You can spend all 10 threat if you want, so there's 10 mines around us now.
I'm going to spend 1 threat to have the mine not get lost in the wormhole, and I'm going to spend the additional threat to actually have the mine attach to the Atlantis, but not detonate.
When we re-roll our complications, there are still complications.
That's why I, dear boy, have a threat pool, and you have a momentum pool. Right.
We have a bit of a sword of Damocles now.
Sorry, did I cackle? It sometimes comes over me, I can't help it. Anyway, over the intercom, back on the bridge, Commander Vibers calls out over the intercom, Captain, we're getting problems with the EPS conduits. They're channeling too much power into the warp engines. If we keep this up, the impulse engines are going to have an overload, and then we're definitely going to be sucked into the anomaly. We're losing power. Gradually, but we're losing power just to maintain our position. I highly recommend, well, that we hold for the moment. We can't seem to break free of the anomaly, and we're blowing too much power trying. Every time we try, we're only nudging just slightly ahead. We're going to lose the engines if we keep this up. I can give us enough power to make us hold our position where we are, but anything more than that is going to risk taking out the impulse engines. maybe even core detonation. But at the same time, if we don't find a way of getting free of this, our power reserves are going to go out.
We tell him to just fire up the second, the advanced reactor.
That's what I'm talking about.
Fire up the third then.
If we were any other ship, we would have lost power by now. We need to find another way out of this wormhole thing.
We know that the anomaly will be disrupted by a large enough antimatter explosion. Is there a way to isolate and protect the Atlantis from that?
You want to create an antimatter explosion with,
and we've got to find some way of getting our shields around anything we want to not be detonated, such as a Federation ship.
That's going to be tricky because the amount of yield that you would need to set off a antimatter detonation is only comparable to a warp core breach. You could try ejecting their core, but then their ship wouldn't be able to hold the position it's in, and it would get jostled by the currents, if not the stresses.
Are we still absolutely certain that we are the only 3 ships here, that there isn't a Romulan launching these mines still somewhere hidden behind the planet?
You can, anyone can attempt another sensor scan to try and answer that question. Would you like
do you
to?
want me to do that? Alex Natala is now free. I think I've got the better skills with.
So, you want Natala to stop doing what she was doing, come back and do her census thing, and you assist?
I don't mind doing it if she's still busy.
That's Natala.
What do you think's more valuable, basically, the modification or the bridge operation? Willing to take advice.
If it's a 23rd century ship, I think we maybe, once we can get a rough sensor sweep on it, if we can get a sensor hit, then yeah, the graviton, the chronoton beam may be beneficial, but it'd be more secondary because we should be able to get.
And I think what I'm working on would basically mean we would be able to do whatever we wanted with a warbird if we found it. So if I can keep on working on that, that probably just speeds up this whole thing.
Yes.
So I'll ask for Natala then to give me a. This one's going to be a reason plus engineering for you to alter the deflector. Meanwhile, trying to find the presence of a potential other Romulan ship, that's going to have to be. That could be either Andrews using control and security, and Nova could assist with control and science, aided by the ship sensors, or it could be the other way around. Nova could be the primary using control and science, and Andrews, being the TAC officer, could assist with control and security to search for...
For my role, should I use the quantum mechanics focus, or...?
Not in this regard.
Do you want me to assist?
No, go on then. I'm fine with the quantum mechanics. You can blag it, it's fine. So, yeah, basically, Shaun, Webby, which of you two would think would be best to be the primary on the task to find the warbird, if there is one? Or no, it's not a warbird; it'd be a bird of prey or something.
So it's more Andrew's expertise, I think, so I'll assist.
Okay. 4 successes, blimey, on Natala. So yeah, you've rigged that deflector dish good. You've rigged it so well that there's no danger of any kind of blowback. You've made sure there are redundancies in place to channel any overloads or anything like that into the ship system, so that it's diffused throughout the ship safely.
If I point this deflector at a cloaked ship, basically it's going to be effectively powerless.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
So
However,
just control security, Matt.
control security, and if Gareth could once again do the ship aiding with sensors and security, please. Oh, hello, we're already on the 2 successes, so there we are.
Well, the ship didn't add anything.
No, so it was all Commander Andrews. Okay, so you scan the area looking for something, anything to give you a clue as to what's going on. There's no sign of any cloaked Romulan ship. So the mines must have been placed here long time ago, possibly when the Atlantis and this Romulan ship were engaging each other in battle. As for what you do get, though, on census, since you got 2 successes, is that as you scan around, you suddenly get a sensor reading from the Atlantis, showing that where it wasn't there before, someone on board the Atlantis has apparently diverted power to their transporter, to the onboard transporter pad. No one's doing anything, but that would make beaming down onto the Atlantis from here easier, because a pad-to-pad transport is easier and safer. It would still not be without risk, but it suggests maybe, just maybe, someone might have noticed you, since you did get very close to the anomaly at one point, and there have been mine detonations going off.
Are we still picking up just static on comms?
Yes.
Is there any way we could try and clean that up with a bit of com intervention?
So, are you talking communications or beaming over?
Well, I suppose just a reliable communication method would help.
What I said before applies, in that you're definitely getting signal as if the ship is receiving. The Atlantis does appear to be receiving communication signals, but nobody's answering back. I likened it to somebody's basically left the radio on, but nobody's actually at the station replying.
Could we test it by, like, beam a probe over, wait 5 seconds, beam the probe back?
You could.
With the time dilation, the probe might not come back.
You would have to find some way of compensating for the gravitational and tetraionic interference to try and minimize that, if you wanted to. What do you think? What would you like to do?
Well, in those terms, could the modifications I've been making, which are, you know, primarily chronoton modifications, if we were pointed at the ship, we basically got that covered already.
You could use it as a kind of carrier wave to safely beam somebody along to the other ship?
We could effectively make a normalized area.
You've gone to the trouble of doing something like that already. It could potentially work, yeah.
Yeah. Who's stupid enough to beam through to teleport through time?
Lieutenant Bravo.
Send the Bravos!
Send the Bravos over. One of a few things will happen. Nothing. Some of them will come back. None of them will come back. All of them come back. More of them come back.
I am Bravo Bravo. I am Bravo Bravo too. We are Bravo Bravo.
So what would you like to do?
The fact that someone has activated, someone or something has activated the transporter pad on board the Atlantis suggests that there is a potential of survivors. Starfleet protocol would be to attempt to assist, and we also potentially can then, if there is no one on board, we can jury rig the warp core to detonate.
What do other people think? Nobody?
That's kind of all we've got.
Yeah,
I think we need to send somebody.
Bertram's still in the medical bay working on the guy, so he's not really here to be part of the conversation.
That's a good point. While you guys are mulling that over, let's cut to what the doctor was up to with his patient. So, you guys have a little think while we just quickly deal with what Bertram was doing. So yeah, I don't know if you guys want to maybe jump over to the ready room while Gareth and I do our own thing if you want to discuss something, or if you're alright to just listen in on what Dr. Bertram does.
Yeah, I'll better.
Which you want to do? John's going over, so anybody who wants to go over into the ready room chat can discuss.
Yeah, we'll plot then if that's.
Meanwhile, Gareth and I will deal with what Dr. Bertram does. So we may as well throw the map over to sick bay. Everyone else can still access their characters via the actor directory. So.
And now that we're the only ones in the chat, I can reveal I'm a changeling. No, I'm not a changeling, sadly.
Right, so as soon as you beamed on board, obviously the ship started shaking and started juddering, and at which point you were like, well, you know, it's not my job, it's my job now to see to this fellow. Yeah. So
I'm a doctor, not a ship stabilizer.
Indeed. And we'll get onto the difficulties of doing this when the ship was getting attacked by Romulan mines in just a moment. So the first thing we need you to do is determine the best treatment for Lieutenant Kearney. This is what we call a linear challenge. So there's going to be a series of tests, tasks that you need to perform, and they have to be in a specific order. Being able to progress to the next one means successfully completing the first one. So first you have to study the patient. Now you've already got an advantage to this because you had a sample brought back of the water that's giving him that that's kind of psychosis. So I'm going to need you to give me a control plus medicine task with a difficulty of 2, but you do get the ship to help you out using the biobed sensors, which I will do.
Thank you very much.
So the ship will be assisting with sensors plus medicine. So I'm going to do the... I'm going to roll the ship to assist. I will... My phone's ringing.
I got the ship's calling to tell me. Okay.
I will allow it, since you have an advantage, the difficulty is now down to down by 1. So it's now a difficulty 1 check.
Okie dokie. Do I have any of my focuses on this, or do they not?
You can use biology, absolutely.
Okay. So use my focus and roll those die.
Webby has now just typed in the Foundry chat. Doc, what did you do? 1 success. So thankfully, thanks to the sample you took, you are able to study him, and you now have a better idea of exactly what ails him and how it's doing it. So certain molecules, certain chemicals within chemical molecules within the composition of this water source have attached themselves to certain parts of his brain and are interfering with neural transmission and are also acting like what's that? Very similar to the chemical known as psilocybin, which you find in like magic mushrooms. So, you know, psilocybin, pardon me. So it causes strong hallucinations and alterations of perception. And so, using the knowledge obtained from studying the patient and the effects of the psychotropic compound in his system, you can now formulate a treatment regimen. The only trouble is that the readings you're getting from Kearney is that he spent years ingesting this compound, so it's pretty redolent throughout his system. So this is going to be a control or reason plus medicine, whichever you think you want to use.
I'll go with the partly because reason gives me a very slight more advantage to control.
Okay.
Partly because reason is generally sort of like, whereas control is manipulation, at least in my mind, reason is sort of like reasoning and intellect.
Yes.
And given that he has values such as researcher's foundation and thirst for knowledge, it makes more sense for him to go that route.
Okay. In that regard, do you want to use your, what is it called, your determination? Since if you are using research as foundation, this would give you cause to spend one determination and buy a roll of a 1 on a dice.
I'll go for that. Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, so on your character sheet, you should see that you've got 1, 2, 3 determination. Click on the 3, it should knock it off.
Yep.
So when you now perform your reason plus medicine task, remember to check the button that you're using. I've forgotten it again.
Researcher's foundation.
Using determination. So.
All right. So in here, so using determination.
Yep, and you're also using focus.
Yay. And
the ship is also assisting, so I will do that again.
Thank you.
Oh, wow! The ship's
Nice.
assisted you already with a roll of a 1.
Let's see what we can add to that.
5 successes. Wow.
Ooh, 7 in total.
Nice. So yeah, you've
and that is why
discovered...
research is foundation.
Yes, indeed. So you've discovered the treatment. You can now administer it. This is going to be a little bit. I'm gonna spend a point of threat to make administering it a bit difficult, because the ship is now being thrown around by the shenanigans that were being gotten up to on the bridge. So you knocked down the difficulty for this in order so you've determined the correct dosage. And with those spectacular successes, I'm going to knock down the difficulty of the next task from 3 to 2. I'm going to push it back up to 3
with that
use of threat. So again, the ship will. No, actually, this is all you.
All right.
So this is an insight. This is an insight plus medicine task. This is all you administering the treatment. This will be insight plus medicine. You will get to use your focus.
Yeah.
Do you want to spend a momentum to buy an extra dice? Or do you want to go the determination route, or do you want to leave it? This is difficult.
Normally, to have a momentum, I feel a little bit. I don't like the idea of doing it when I'm on my own and can't sort of discuss momentum to share one, so I'd rather use my determination because that's a personal one.
Cool. I've knocked that off then.
Thank you very much.
So, insight, medicine. Check that you're using focus, and also check that you're using determination.
Determination.
This is Dr. Bertram doing what Dr. Bertram does best.
Okay, here we go. 4 successes.
Even though the ship is rocking, you manage to successfully apply the treatment.
So I'm just just
stop shaking the ship.
Poof.
Okay, Lieutenant Kearney's brainwaves are starting to stabilize. His vitals are becoming less erratic. He's stabilizing across the board. You have successfully managed to stabilize the patient. He may even be safe enough to bring round to consciousness within a couple of moments, but possibly wait until the ship stops shaking first.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure doing it when the ships are like shaking apart is the best thing.
So what we're going to do now...
You brought me back to life just in time to be evaporated.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring the guys back. We're going to go back to the bridge, and you can certainly have Lieutenant, your patient brought to the bridge along with yourself, so that you can apprise the captain and the crew of what's going on. So let's throw the...
Do we want to do that once the ship stops shaking?
Yeah. But these guys will have spent that time developing a plan, so by the time the ship stops shaking is when they're formulating their plan. Let's see what they come back with. Let's invite everybody back.
Okay.
As well.
Okay, come back, guys,
to
the bridge.
To
the bridge, and we'll be able to
jump back into the ready room.
Everyone's in the ready room. So everybody jump back to the bridge voice chat, and we'll discuss what happens next.
So I take it.
Gareth going.
And I've left them all. And nobody's following me, so apparently... Oh no, there we go.
You may want
all the signage changes, we thought the ready room was the bridge.
You may want to drag John.
Natala to the bridge.
Yeah, John's just he just popped away for a sec.
How do I do that?
Just click, just drag his name, grab him, click on him and drag.
Oh, I didn't know I could do that. You learn something new every day. Okay, cool. So, let me quickly grab... Where is he?
I'm here.
I'm gonna have to watch Twitch now to see what happened in that scene.
Oh, there you go.
Everything was fine. I did not use your spare cybernetics to make myself a Doombot. Why would you even think that?
Why are you looking at me like that? Shut up!
Yeah.
Alright, so... The overall threat for the moment has been neutralized, but it is still the question of what to do next, So, my dudes, or should we wait till John gets back?
I'm back.
Cool. So, what's the plan?
So, if we leave Lieutenant Keval at Con for the inevitable quick getaway, and we leave Lieutenant Nova for maintaining all of the things that will inevitably go wrong at this end.
Okay. Yep.
And then we make a away team formed primarily of the rest of us and people specializing in triage and transporter use.
Okay. So at the very least, you're taking Commander Andrews, which makes sense, you know, tactical and security.
Yeah, I don't get a choice in this. I have to go across. Someone's got to lead the reprobates.
Natala wants to go because of her scientific knowledge. I take it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's group you guys together. Well, it kind of goes without saying that Bertram should probably go.
Never know if there are survivors and if they need help.
Is Bertram a bit stressed at the moment?
He has used 2 of his 3 determination in a very short space of time. So.
I was doing very complex surgery while the ship was being inexplicably shaken to bits.
Yeah. And he did it extraordinarily well.
While constantly being contacted by a certain someone going, Doc, what did you do? Sophia.
If we assume the Doc is going now, the survivor, according to Dr. Bertram, is now well and stable. He can be brought back to consciousness safely, if you wish, or maybe you want to leave him here.
It would be helpful to know whether the ship was at full complement or not. Whether we're looking to evacuate 79 people or only 60.
You also might know how they changed, altered their shuttle to get it through safely.
Okay, so you basically want to ask him questions before you do anything else.
Oh, we stick him on the away crew. We're going back to your ship, mate. Get on.
Do you want to just invite him to come along, or do you want to ask him some questions first, or just drag him? What do you want to do?
I think check with the Doc if he's sane enough, but then ultimately it'd be his decision, because I think he would know the layout of the ship better than we would.
The Doctor, I'm assuming we're common at this point, unless you come down to sick bay for the initial report. Doctor saying he should be stable enough to bring back. I've been dealing with the chemical imbalance caused by the long-term ingestion of the substance in the water. Obviously, I've only dealt with the physiological, medicinal and biological and chemical aspects of it. Any experience-related trauma he might still be experiencing when we bring him round, it's difficult to tell on that regard.
Okay. So, the question comes back to, what would you like to do?
I don't know if it's safe to take him along.
I think primarily asking questions here, particularly as, also Nova will be in the staying part of the mission and can keep questioning him even while we're...
Is that basically what you're going to say, Jan?
Yeah, I think questioning is the safer option. He might suffer some traumatic flashback if he's taken along, which would just cause issues.
Okay. Okay. So, with the Doctor's permission, the survivor can be brought to the bridge so that he can bring you all up to speed.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that'll be definitely worthwhile.
Okay.
Okay, the Doctor will do that then.
So, let's get a little read on what we want. Okay. Well, yeah, the Doc goes back down to sickbay, brings him around, and you give him a bit of a check over, and make sure that he's all right. He seems coherent enough. Obviously, he's a bit disorientated. It takes him a little bit to realize that he's on board a ship, and then when he realizes he's on board a ship, he realizes he doesn't recognize the ship. So it's up to you, Dr. Bertram, whether or not you want to broach the subject of where he is now, or just bring him along to the interview to try and ease him into it, maybe, or...
The Doctor... He won't actually sort of like give like the full briefing to him, because it's not really sort of the Doctor's place. The Doctor's concerned with his medical status. Basically, what he'll tell him is he was rescued by another ship, another human ship, the Navis. He is the Doctor, and he's helped bring him round. The location of the Atlantis has been determined, but there is some sort of spatial anomaly, and the command crew of the ship would like to actually speak to him about reaching his ship and the rest of his crew.
Okay. Now, given what you've just told him, do you want to take him to the bridge where there is new technology, not to mention Lieutenant Fazanan?
Yeah.
Or do you want to take him a bit more neutral, like the conference room?
I would be thinking the conference room is a better place than the actual bridge itself.
Okay. So
there'll probably be a conference room on the medical deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could technically leave him in sickbay and conduct the interview there. Just have, like a patient room or something in sickbay. Let's have a look. Sickbay, let's all go to sickbay. Woo-hoo.
My domain.
So, there's basically the doctor's office.
Yep.
That you could go.
Yeah.
Which would be the best place to possibly interview him. It's a bit more contained.
A
bit easier.
Well, there are two of me.
Yeah, I'll if he's willing to be interviewed, I'll contact the bridge and let them know that I recommend he's talked to in the doctor's office.
Okay. So Andrew's obviously one of the better ones to interview. Does Natala want to be along?
I'd have thought Nova might actually be beneficial.
Yeah, I think both of us have some of the skills for this.
Okay, yeah. I will copy both of you. Oops, a daisy. Doop. Copy both of you over to sickbay. Bop, bop, bop. Let's take Natala out of the wall. Let's bring the doc back into his office and the patient back to here. Okay. Just for the sake of everybody being able to see, because I take it, Jan, you can't see what's going on in sickbay, or can you?
I can.
You can? Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome sauce. So, yeah, let's not have Nova reclining on the doctor's desk.
Nova, please.
Don't want to give the wrong impression. So,
yeah. What kind of medical bay do you think I'm running here?
Okay, so Nova, Natala, and Andrews all make their way to sickbay, where Dr. Bertram introduces his patient. Apparently, the patient's name is Lieutenant John Kearney. Currently posted on the USS Atlantis. I can't thank you enough for rescuing me from the planet's surface. What's the status of the Atlantis, may I ask?
Currently stuck within some sort of anomaly. We're trying to ascertain the situation on there. We believe that there may still be survivors on board because someone has recently activated the transporters.
Was anyone able to get off?
Not that we know of. Other than yourself and your other crewmates, which unfortunately we know of.
So it was just us in the shuttle pod.
I was hoping we could ask you some questions about that shuttle and the modifications you made to it.
Sure. You didn't make many.
Along with what you can remember of what happened prior to your arrival here.
Well, okay. It's all a bit fuzzy, but what I do remember is the Romulans, sorry. We were engaging them on and off for the better part of days before we eventually managed to put them down. Their ship entered orbit around the planet. Captain Suarez tasked myself and the others to take a shuttle down and see if there was anything that we could salvage from the wreckage to use to help repair the ship. Maybe even get a hold on Romulan tech that we could use to then take back to Earth and have analyzed, so we could maybe find ways around Romulan technology. I lost 2 of my crew members to the plant life on the planet. Then I started trying to survive alone. And then things get fuzzy from there. At last count, there was about 83 of us, I think, had survived aboard the Atlantis after the Romulans were done with us, or we were done with the Romulans. So hopefully there's still 83 people on board the Atlantis. I knew Captain Suarez wouldn't have just abandoned us on the planet. I knew there had to be an explanation why the Atlantis just disappeared. Do we know anything about the status of the Atlantis?
To your knowledge, was the Atlantis was alone here? There was no other signs of any ships, friendly or otherwise, in the area?
No. It was just us. I mean, the UEA had only managed to create a handful of NX-class ships. I mean, the fact that I'm on this one seems to suggest that maybe they managed to put out another one? He kind of lets that question hang in the air, but when you don't answer, he just kind of...
You could say that this is a newer NX class vessel.
Okay, well, the sick bay's a whole hell of a lot better than ours, which is nice because that one was rather cramped. Although the plant life's a lot better.
As far as we can tell, the Atlantis is currently stable.
Okay.
However, our sensors are definitely struggling with the anomaly.
Okay. But you said someone put power to the transporter. So we can go over there, right?
That was our next plan, yes.
Alright. When do you want to leave?
I would advise not in your current condition, unfortunately. You're still recovering, and what you've gone through has potential consequences. Well, what you've gone through has potential underlying effects that you're not fully cognitive of.
It would be helpful to have you over communications throughout.
Well, okay, I suppose. I mean, Doc, you gave me a clean bill of health, right? I mean, I'm okay to go?
Chemical imbalance in your brain caused by your exposure on the planet, certain chemicals, has been fixed, but there is still the question of potential long-term psychological conditions. Essentially, to put it in layman's terms, all I've done is essentially flush it out and patch up the physical damage. As a doctor, I would recommend that you not put yourself in any stressful situations that could cause currently undetected psychological damage to flare up, especially with other critical moments such as rescuing your crewmates from the anomaly. I would, just as a medical opinion, I would prefer it if you were to remain in sick bay for the moment, with the, as my colleague says, a communication link between us and yourself, so that you could potentially advise.
Nova is definitely getting waves of anxiety off of him, which was obvious in the way that he was very keen to get back to his ship. As soon as Dr. Bertram mentions, what he's been through and why it's advisable he not, there's a definite overarching feeling of disappointment and sadness, but then he kind of some those of you who are watching, he kind of nods to himself and visibly steels himself, but Nova feels it as well. His logical brain has caught up with his emotional brain and is basically told him, what the doctor said makes sense.
Yeah, he knew the risks and is now just like justifying it in his own mind.
Yeah, but he's obviously very emotionally very keen to help. Well, quite exactly. So he's taken this news of you can help it this way, and he's basically resigned himself to he'll take whatever he can get, just to make sure that he's able to help in some fashion with the rescue of his crewmates. So he's got a definite emotional investment in the survival of his crew members, which speaks to the quality of the man. He's very much emotions on his sleeve. He wants to get back because he wants to help his shipmates. There's no ulterior motive, and he's probably going to be a bag of nerves sitting here, but he knows logically that this is the best he can do, and this is the most he can give, and he's willing to accept that. Okay. So he says, yeah, I can advise you on where to go and what to do.
Yeah. Can I advise him with some parting information as being a PTSD survival champion?
Absolutely.
That getting back into the situation too quick has long-term repercussions.
He nods sagely and accepts that. Okay. Is there anything else you want to ask him? Anything else you want to do? Okay.
I think the only thing would be worthwhile is checking to see whether whether he knew of any damage that the Atlantis had sustained prior to the events. I know he said
he had mentioned trying to patch things up.
Yeah, but whether there were certain decks, etc., where they knew that there was severe structural damage, etc.
Last I remember, we'd taken damage to our port nacelle, but the bridge took a hit. Last I remember, there was some structural weakness around the bridge. Whether or not that's resolved itself, they fixed it, or it's got worse in the meantime, I don't know. So the command deck might be inaccessible. Anything else in that regard? I don't know. I mean, we'd taken hits from the Romulans. There was damage to the hull in places. We'd patched it. It was a running battle with these guys. They would come out of nowhere and attack us. We'd run, we'd hide, we'd patch up what we could, and we'd wait for them to reappear. When they did, we'd launch our surprise attack. We'd damage them. They would run and hide, and it would go back and forth like this for days on end. And a lot of the ship took hits. We repaired what we could, so
perhaps one or two of us should be equipped for EVA in case we need to check over the command deck.
That would probably be advisable. Yeah, sure. Anything else you'd like to add? Okay. So, if we propel everybody back to the bridge. So, let me take...
First question.
Okay.
First question I have is,
Yes.
did you ask him how to self-destruct the ship?
No,
I'm pretty sure we can work that out.
It shouldn't be difficult to reverse engineer a 200-year-old vessel from... Oh no, it's manual input though, isn't it?
It is, but it's...
If Tucker can do a cold restart on a warp core in less than a minute, we can blow one up in less than a minute.
Yeah. So, we've established the means by which you're going to try and transport over there, and that's going to be its own little job in a moment or two. The next question is, of course, the composition of the away team. Now, we've just mentioned the possibility of using EVA suits. So the crew can go
Are
over
we going to
in
get
EVA
Flight Bravo?
What was that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I was
Flight
topping my
Bravo.
class in EVA.
So we've got Dr. Bertram for medical. We've got Commander Andrews, obviously, for security. We've got Lieutenant Natala for the obvious science. Now, you'll probably want someone with engineering expertise for the transporter base, whatever, and any repairs that need happening. So this is a good example of using supporting character Lieutenant Bravo again. But there are 5 of you, so there is place for another supporting character to be created. The question becomes, what field of supporting character we want him to be? Or them
I think ops.
I quite liked the idea of the transporter chief.
Yeah.
So you want another engineer, but this one's specialised in transporter.
Well, it'd be ops. Operations.
Operations officer.
Yeah.
So if I do a flat copy of Bravo, just so I can use his stats. So then again, no. Let me. I actually did do supporting characters template. So you wanted. So we've got tactical, security, science, medical. Bravo is the template engineer. We've got Helm and comms. So I don't know. Engineer is probably actually the best way to go. So yeah,
It's not far off.
Let me recopy Bravo. So we want somebody who is specialised in operations, ship operations. So let's put that as a focus. Any other focuses you think would be useful? You wanted someone involved in beaming technology, so...
Yeah, beaming technology and ideally a people person.
Transporter operations, let's say. People person. What kind of focus would that imply, do you think? Social... What's the word for someone who's socially very adept? There is a word for...
Extroverted.
Sorry?
Extroverted.
That's more of a trait that we could use rather than a focus. But I will put the trait. I'll put the trait in. Extrovert.
I suppose it'd just be empathetic then. It's just like caring about the person and their feelings. Just without the psychicness behind it, although he's got that as well if he's going to be another Bravo.
Okay, so we'll come back to that. But so the effort here now needs to be well, do we want to make them a flat-out human, or do we want to choose a species, or do we want to roll on the species table again to randomly determine, or do we want to make it another one of the Bravos?
I'll have to change his name to Lieutenant Bravo Ops. Quite happy to go with the majority.
Excuse me.
We can go random. Shall we go random? If it is a Bratazoid, it is another Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Sure.
Where is it? Life path. Now, does someone else want the pleasure of rolling it, or do you want me to do it?
We'll get a 20, so we'll get a complication.
So if you go on to the if you find the rollable tables, it's to the right of the book icon, the journal entries.
Yes.
There should be a folder saying life path tables.
Yes.
And you want life path species next generation.
Indeed.
And once you open that, there's a button at the bottom right that says roll. They'll just roll through the results. Human. There we are. Nice and easy.
Boring.
Do you want to do it again?
No.
Nope.
No, we're not.
Okay.
We're not rolling. We're not going to continue to roll.
Okay, so Betazoids do get a bonus of a sort. So let me quickly check what bonus Betazoids get to their stats. Insight, presence, and reasons. Let me take those out. Insight, presence, and reason go down. Not Betazoid, is human. So we're going to have to generate a name in a moment. What do humans get as their boosts? Attributes. Instead of the normal attribute options, choose 3 and add 1 to them. Okay. Well, anyone in engineering is going to want reason. Anyone who's going to be an extrovert is going to need presence. Control should be reasonably high, but also insight, so I may as well put those values back where they were. Does anybody want to come up with a name for our transporter chief? Anything at all?
Be Gregory for gregariousness.
Okay. Gregory something, anything.
Hang on, I'm on the fantasy name generator.
Okay.
Gregory Lichud.
Spell that for me, please.
Lichud.
Lichud. Do we know what nationality that is?
Sounds French.
I've got more Frenches now. We're not having no.
If it was Lechud, maybe, but this is Lichud, so I don't know.
Probably.
Could be
Danish?
Jewish, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's Likud, it would be the Israeli parliament.
What was that? Sorry, I didn't catch that, Jan.
If it was Likud, wouldn't that be the Israeli parliament?
That might be what I'm thinking of.
Ah. Okie dokie. Ooh. That's fine. There's no reason why they couldn't be. Right, so let me quickly grab a picky of a human. Let me see. Do they have one already for me to pick out? Not particularly. I can just grab a...
Anyway, a nice yellow shirt.
Let me quickly grab an image. Any old image. I got tons of humans. It's Gregory, so it might be male. Humans. Male. Let's see.
It's Lieutenant Hogan from Memory Alpha.
Let's go with who looks reasonable. I'll go with you. Clipboard. Dupe. Replace that image with this one. Awesome. Pass that over to there, and that looks okay. Somewhat older gentleman. That'll do. Okay, so we have Gregory Lichud. Or Likud. I don't know what the pronunciation was on that again. Human, extrovert, transporter specialist. We are missing one last focus. Each supporting character gets 3 focuses. We've given him ship operations, transporter operation, any other.
Where's the nice list of them? I can just glance through.
Well, they could be anything. There is no set list.
Yeah.
Why not just people in general? He's just
or just communicative or something like that.
How about sociology?
Arming presence.
Again,
That's
it's
nice.
a focus.
Yeah.
Well, it's an academic focus.
Yes, sociology makes sense. So.
Okay. Sociology. So, ooh, it looks like I've linked. Oh, but that makes sense, actually. Let me unlink this guy so that I don't end up changing too much. I can create duplicates of these guys at a later point. So we have Dr. Bertram, Commander Andrews, Lieutenant Natala, Lieutenant Jude, and Lieutenant Bravo. Is that all okay? Okay then, so who wants to be which? Jan, you've already established yourself as Lieutenant Bravo, so do you want to continue that?
Sure.
That's
Is this the same Lieutenant
entirely
Bravo?
up to you. You don't have to. Don't feel you have to.
I don't mind. I can do Bravo. I can do the newcomer. It's either one is good.
So it basically comes down to Shaun, since your character is not going to be active in this. Would you rather be the overall engineer or the transporter chief?
I guess I'll take on Bravo. Mix it up.
Okay, so Shaun will take the part of Bravo, and Jan will take the part of the Jude. So I'll stick you back there for now.
That just means every new character is that Jan's going to end up being has to kind of give the first impression of what the person's like.
Copy those.
Ooh.
Can Latude, even though he's like got sociology, can he just talk in one long, incredibly unbroken sentence with no charisma in monosyllabic all the time?
I'm sure we could save that for someone better.
Okay.
Energizing.
Still
Because
energized.
every time he energizes, he reminds you of that he's actually killing you.
This will be the last time. Oh god, he's for the
Fatalist. I like it.
it's Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide. This will be the last time I ever see you, because when you come back, you'll be a different version of energy that I killed and brought back.
Life.
All right.
Don't talk to me about life.
So everybody gets an EVA suit. So let's put that in armor, because it technically counts as armor as well. EVA suit for Natala. EVA suit for Bravo.
Oh, that's awesome that you can actually use communicate.
EVA suit for Andrews, and EVA suit for... Oh, wait a sec. That's not right. Oh, damn it, I copied it back. Okay, I'll deal with that in just a second. Take that from there, use that.
Well, we're going to replicate a desk communicator, something that looks like a bedside clock radio for the newcomer to use the.
What was the new guy's name again?
What, Latude?
Agree.
I thought about the man out of time, but
Let me copy that.
Keely.
Token. Lieutenant Latude Ops. Okay. Latude. Because I had to disconnect it from the one in the actors, and it's reverted back to what it was. So, I'm having a moment. Let me have my moment. No, I'm getting this wrong. What am I doing? I am supposed to be doing that, the opposite way from which I normally do things. Right. Woo! Let's try that instead. That's better. So I've changed the name. Hopefully that will save as that now. File uploaded. Right. Stop with that. His foci were operations,
transport operations, and sociology.
transporters, and sociology. Yes, he actually likes tormenting people he's about to transport down to places just to mess with them, because he knows people will react in certain ways.
Yeah, let's trigger the commander's PTSD. Woo!
Yeah. That would have been a good choice to have as a guy beaming us down with a guy who's just undergone serious trauma.
You'll be absolutely fine once you've been split apart into energy and then beamed across space.
So, Lieutenant Bravo last time took an engineering toolkit and pattern enhancers. Do you want him to take the pattern enhancers still?
I think it may be worthwhile because potentially if we can get people to other areas of the ship, we can get the Navis to be beaming people out.
Yeah.
I'll actually give it to the pattern enhancers to Richard because it makes more sense for the transporter guy to have the pattern enhancers. They've got Type 1 phasers because they're lower ranking. Natala should have a Type 2 phaser, yep. And the Doc has got a Type 1. The Doc could requisition a Type 2 phaser if he wanted to.
I kind of figured it doesn't really feel like a Starfleet doctor to requisition an actual sort of better weapon unless he's expecting to go onto something a really high combat fin. So it doesn't really feel like what he
Okay,
do.
yep, that's fine by me. If you don't think that he would, then he won't. Alright, cool. So, were there any other things you could think of that would be useful to take with you that you might requisition from the ship's stores? Or
I assume, have we got medical kits?
Yep. Doc is loaded up with medical stuff.
It may be worthwhile taking a spare, just so that we have 2 people attending it.
Is there a what do you call it? The roll someone onto it, seal it up, and drag them along thing.
Body bag.
For live people.
Like a anti-grav structure or something.
Yeah.
Sadly, no. That's for when you beam people over and then put them onto. Actually, character equipment. Anti-grav sleds or just plain anti-grav, yes, but that would be somewhat cumbersome.
Yeah. Then in that case, yeah, just more. And so in addition to pattern enhancers, presuming that people on board this vessel wouldn't have personal locators like Archon badges.
Probably not.
And if we were wanting to be people back using pattern enhancers, we probably need those for them, or something equivalent.
Natala, being the science officer, is the one most qualified probably to take the additional medical kit. So I will give it to her. However, this does introduce a neat little thing that they introduce. It's kind of like a requisition cost for equipment you don't normally get given as part of your field. So you will have to spend a momentum to buy, essentially, the extra medical kit to a non-medical personnel.
Seems like a worthwhile use of a...
And for that, Natala gets the dermal regenerator, the hyper spray, the laser scalpel, and the medical monitoring device as part of a med kit. I think that's about the lot, because you already do have a tricorder, so it'll be you'll have the medical tricorder attachment. All right. Anything else? No? All right then. So, you're all on the transporter pad, ready to go. So, I'm just going to quickly copy your tokens to where you're gonna need to go. And of course, because the thing is slightly different, it throws you all over the map. It's because the number of pixels between maps is different, so it's doing its best with what it's got. So, who do I not have? There's Bravo! Bravo! Where are you off to, Bravo? Doobie 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 doobie. Let's arrange you like we had you, more or less. Okay. Okey-dokes. So, everybody ready? The first thing we're going to ask for is... excuse me. Frog in my throat. Sorry about that. I'm going to posit that Lieutenant Natala has already done the work necessary with the setting up the, what was it, the chronoton and graviton wave.
Chronoton stabilization wave. Yes.
So all I'm going to ask for now is, let me see, it's going to be somebody doing the transporter. So this is probably a good excuse for Lieutenant Richard himself to program the transporter to take you guys safely over. So this will be a, let's see, daring or engineering. Sorry, not daring or engineering. Yeah. It's going to be either daring plus engineering or reason plus engineering. Let's see which one. His daring is 9. His reason is 10. So, Jan, if you want to give me a reason plus engineering check for Richard to see if you can compensate for the disturbances. This will be a difficulty of 3 because you've lowered it from 4. What was that? Sorry.
Okay, guys. I've never done this before, so I hope you understand if things go wrong. Just kidding. All right. I think I will be spending some momentum, seeing as it's a significant difficulty, unless people don't agree.
I think it's valid. Just you've got the focus.
We're high on the momentum. Spend it all.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 momentum buys you an extra dice.
We need to use that momentum to get through the pessimism and sadism of the transporter chief.
Yeah. He's going to lock us all in the pattern buffer for an indefinite period of time.
And he did just tell us this is first day.
And we're all 1 day from retirement.
At least I've got to focus, so...
Yes, you do.
Energizing.
Okay, so set the coordinates, try and compensate for the difficulty. Okay, you need... I said you needed 3 successes for this.
Yeah.
So you can either spend... So what you can do is, you can keep the 5 and spend a momentum to re-roll the 17 and the 19. So if you re-roll it, you only re-roll 2 of them. Or you can re-roll the lot.
Not sure why it's referring to me as Bravo. Okay. I think, statistically speaking, it's probably better to re-roll the lot.
Or you could succeed at cost. What do you think?
I think you can re-roll a lot, personally.
Okay. Spend a momentum, re-roll the lot?
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it. Re-roll results. Let's see what we get instead. It still says Lieutenant Bravo Engineer.
Yeah. Marginally better.
I think that's close enough as you're going to get.
Why does it think that Lieutenant Bravo is doing this?
I think it might just
Really
be slow to
matter,
update.
Yeah.
Because you've only just recently turned a Lieutenant Bravo into this character.
Potentially. Token is...
It did it for me. Did it for me is the correct one. Don't know why. Probably, yeah, it's just an update issue.
Okay.
Unless... Oh, have you got both tokens selected by accident? Yeah, and I think that may be the only one that might be causing it.
I think I just had the one selected.
To deselect everything, just click, drag and draw a box in an empty space. That'll make sure you've deselected everything, and then select him again and just do something. Roll a random. Get rid of that.
I think I got it.
Okie doke. Doing a random roll. Okay, so with only 2 successes, you can either... You're probably going to have to succeed at cost. If you don't want to spend more momentum. Okay.
I think... Yeah. I'm happy.
Yeah, I think we're running low.
Yeah.
What was the first momentum that you spent for? Because
to buy an extra dice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the coordinates are laid in. Compensation is made for the interference. You put it on Lieutenant Richard puts it on a timer in order to allow himself to get onto the pad, and you engage. And off we go.
Hey, it works.
It did.
Don't say it worked until we manifest on the deck in pieces.
Okay.
That scene in the motion picture.
Yeah, we're now just a goo mess. Well, reroll characters, guys.
So
what happened to our characters?
The first thing that happens when you reach the other transporter pad is the lights in the room visibly dim, and then the console gives an audible pop, and you see flashes of sparks as basically the system overloads. And
Good
you
thing
are
we
now,
bought the pattern enhancers.
but you appear to have arrived at your destination.
Is it worthwhile scanning atmospheric conditions?
Yeah, if you want to.
Obviously, we've got EVA suits, but and also scanning for life signs as well might be a worthwhile thing.
Okay. I'm going to ask for Lieutenant Bravo and Lieutenant Lichard to all give me insight plus engineering checks. Okay.
Is there any applicable focus?
Yes, he can apply his transporter focus.
I think Bravo's feeling too disconnected from his siblings.
2 successes, awesome. Right, so Bravo, what has he got? EPS, warp field theory, damage control and repair, so no, he's more the repair monkey. Lieutenant Lichard notices that there's the console, when you eventually come out of come off of the transporter pad, the transporter control console has been opened up, and there are a number of wires have been kind of ripped out of the wall. A couple of power conduits have been rudely attached to the transporter pad in order to the transporter controls. So someone appears to have done a real patch job, a hodgepodge, what's the word, jury rig, in order to...
what a mess.
Yeah, made a real mess of it. And that's probably why the thing overloaded when it eventually received, your beam. Everyone else who is scanning for... well, if the Doctor uses his tricorder to scan the environment to see if it's breathable, that will be a control plus medicine check. And Andrews and Natala can both use their tricorders to scan for life signs using control plus science and control plus security.
I don't use tricorders. I roll fails.
Oh, 2 successes for my one.
Yeah, nice. So, oh wow. Okay, so Dr. Bertram only needed 1 to succeed at that, so he gains momentum. Natala was scanning for life signs. You only needed 1, so you get 1 for that. Andrews got 3 successes, so you're back up to 4 momentum again. Andrews was scanning for well, life signs as well, but anything with a tactical bent to it. So, yes, the transporter pad has been, the transporter controls have been jury-rigged. The Doctor, you get the reading that there is gravity, there's also atmosphere. As such, it seems life support is active, but it looks like there are traces of like the carbon recyclers are not doing quite as much of a good a job as they normally would. You're not an expert in old Earth ships, but you would have to hazard a guess that the life support system is struggling.
You know what would have helped? If they had some sort of non-power dependent air recycler that took carbon dioxide out and replaced it with oxygen.
So the air is breathable, but it's starting to show signs that the filtration systems are starting to wear out.
Because this is right in the heart of the temporal anomaly, with the scan rolls that we got, is there any kinds of because we're in the eye of the storm effectively, I assume that we're not picking up any gravity we aren't picking up any gravity eddies or temporal anomalies within the ship.
Okay, with those successes that you got, I will allow that. So I will change the focus of Andrews's scan to be that, and Natala's to be life signs. Natala does get the presence of life signs, scattered throughout the ship, focused mainly on specific decks levels of the ship. They're scattered about, but they are definitely focused. There are large focuses.
There are clumps of people,
clumps of life forms gathered together on separate decks. There are also life signs out in the corridor to your immediate east, but I'll get to that. But we'll deal with that in just a moment as we deal with Webby's note. There are signs of gravitational stress being put on the ship. But from your scan, it seems that they've activated the polarization of their hull, which is reinforcing it somewhat. But there are definite stresses on the hull, and it's probably going to be a matter of hours, possibly in the realm of 2 hours, before the hull eventually cannot take any more and will start to basically crack from the stress.
Yeah, it'll buckle.
The time-related issues, the ship is definitely operating within its own layer of time. So time appears to be occurring normally within the ship. You're not
It's a consistent
encountering...
environment.
So yeah, it's its own contained environment. You're not detecting any pockets of abnormal time in the ship. It's possible the polarization of their hull is stabilizing is stabilizing the time stream within. But for now,
theoretically, the modifications that I made to the deflector should be making it more or less normalizable between us and the Navis, so we should be able to get communication.
Yeah. In fact, you can always test that out by communicating with Lieutenant Kearney. Should you wish to. So yeah, what would you like to do?
I think Lieutenant Lecud's first priority is to make sure that the transporter will be operational for any use in the immediate future.
That's going to take time, and it's probable that he will need to probably locate somebody who's more aware of the ships. Not to mention, find out who the heck made this jury rig job, because it's somewhat drastic and a little unusual. The kind of jury rigging that's just been done to the transporter. In fact, rather than give it to you for free, let's make you make a test here. Let's do another insight and engineering test, please, to see how much can glean from the massive wires. If Bravo wants to aid, Bravo can. If you think you want to, Shaun.
Yeah, I can try and assist it.
So yeah, in insight and engineering, but just assist this time. Yeah, 3 successes overall. You needed 2, so you've got 1 over. Cool, well done. Yeah. Considering, because we would have been reasonably prepped on what to expect. So, you know, the level of engineering and technological knowledge you guys have now in the 24th century is obviously well and above what anyone from the 22nd century would have had. That's not to say that guys back then were dumb. It was just, you know, what they managed to discover at that particular point in time. So for someone to have jury-rigged the transporter in this fashion shows a degree of potentially theoretical knowledge of transporter theory that goes somewhat beyond what would be considered normal transporter knowledge, transporter technical knowledge for the 22nd century.
Well, this would have been one of the first ships of the line to have a transporter which was expected to be used for people. Wouldn't it be?
Yeah, they would have.
In a way. But by the time, because from what you read about the Atlantis, about this time period, the Atlantis wasn't one of the first NX class ships off the line. The first was the Enterprise, followed some time later by the Columbia, and then when the Earth-Romulan War kicked into gear, they started rushing these things to try and create as many as possible. Sadly, you know, not many of them were ready by that point. So, but transporter technology was a little bit more widespread in its use, not as widespread as in the 24th.
About like 15 years rather than by...
Yeah, so compared to like what they started out with in, you know, the first episode of the first season of Star Trek Enterprise, when it was a little bit touch and go whether or not they liked to use it. I think the transporter technology had become a little bit more stable by the point that the Atlantis was made.
Okay.
However,
this person is clearly at the forefront of their field.
Yeah. Whoever did it was potentially a genius.
Crazy mad genius.
Exactly. So
we do have some life signs just out in the corridor there, so should we see what state they're in?
Doc, you're kind of still on the transporter pad.
Yep.
He's going to pull the lost his legs joke again.
Okay. So, who's going up first? Alright then, as soon as you open the door and poke your head out, I'm going to stop you there before anyone else goes out. What what Andrews sees, and to a lesser degree Natala, it seems that Natala has got all-round vision. What's going on here? That's better. To a lesser degree Natala, what Andrews sees as she steps out into the corridor is that there are a pair of crewmen who are wielding phaser pistols, and there appears to be a big mound of debris at the end of the corridor, and there is the sound of phaser fire going on outside. The two crewmen closest to Andrews kind of duck back as shot from another crewman streaks past them. At which point, another beam from another crewman goes out, and if I could just get the thing correct, strikes a female crewman, who then collapses down as she's obviously stunned. The other two crewmen on the other side of the debris lay down a kind of suppressing fire, which makes the two crewmen closest to Andrews duck, as the third crewman further away, which are firing on them, grabs the stunned crewman and starts dragging her off. And as they do, the other two, who are keeping the others pinned down, start to withdraw, keeping up the suppressing fire. With debris between them and the others, the two closer crewmen just kind of try leaning around to get a better shot, but they can't. And the sound of combat dies off. Now, Andrews, I have to ask here, at this point, are you going to remain visible, or are you going to maybe duck back and hide to find out what's going on?
I'm quite happy to be kind of step back so that we half visible.
Okay.
But still using kind of like the side of the wall as cover.
Okay, so I'm going to keep you there for your token there for the minute, so you can still see the two tokens that I'm talking about. Natala can only see one, but Natala through her spot near the door sees Andrews kind of back up and put herself in the door frame, so that she's only partly, only half visible and is trying to keep an eye. So this gives Natala and the rest a good enough indication that something's going on that they might want to stay quiet about. And you overhear the two crewmen talking. So the one on the left, well, now what are we going to do? And the one on the right seems visibly upset. He's kind of grabbing his hair in frustration and just gesturing wildly with his phaser pistol. Oh God, man! Oh God! They took the chief. What are we gonna do? They took the chief. Yeah, the other one replies. I know they took the chief, but what do we do now? I mean, we can't get to her. We're gonna have to go back and tell them what happened. So.
Okay, right. It
Yep.
seems so. Judging by their reactions, is that they seem cognitive.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem fairly aggressive. They seem more that they were the ones that were defending. So I'm quite happy to kind of step out,
Okay.
identify first my presence, and say that I'm here to assist. We're here to. We've beamed over to assist.
Okay.
What seems to be the situation.
At which point, of course, they both, spin in your direction, both leveling their pistols. The one on the left-hand side kind of lowers it slightly as he looks at you with a, what the hell kind of look on his face. The other one, though, is his hair is stuck to his head. He's so sweaty. And he grips the pistol with both hands, and he's visibly shaking as he's there saying, You, don't move! Stay right there!
Okay.
Oh God! They've come around behind us! At which point the other one leans in. Sorry, but before you say that, the other one leans in.
If I was actively going to be attacking you, I would have fired when your back was to me. I'm basically holding the phaser rifle at arm's reach, kind of like it's held but lowered.
Yeah, and the crewman on the left leans in and goes, Thomas, look at the way they're dressed. That's kind of odd. And the one just identified as crewman Thomas, who's there shaking with his pistol, going, "It's probably it. It's probably the alien. We should kill it now."
Did the doc reveal that the air was safe? It's just the fact that there's a high CO2 atmosphere.
It's not high, but it's noticeably more than what it should be. Were the life support functioning properly?
Right. Okay. I'm going to remove my helmet. My weapon I will place on the floor. If you will allow that, we can talk properly.
Slowly.
Okay, yeah. Phaser rifle, we drop to the floor. And then I will take off the helmet. Take off my EVA helmet.
Yeah. So with a hiss, it detaches. Actually, by this point, it's probably a button that you press and it folds back into itself. Chick, 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 chick. At which point, the guy holding the gun, he jumps. You know, he's startled by what just happened. And in a lesser extent, so is the calmer one. He didn't expect that. He expected you to remove the helmet rather than the helmet fold back. And he then leans over to the nervous one again and goes, "Wow, that's tech I haven't seen before. So it could be the alien trying to trick us."
My name is Commander Sophia Andrews. Our vessel heard the distress call that was put out by the Atlantis. We are here to assist. However, I can't assist if you don't tell me what the situation is. Obviously, there seems to be something going on by the fact that there are several of your crew members firing on you. As I mentioned, if I was truly going to eliminate you, I would have done so when your backs were turned. I'm unarmed.
The one on the left leans in. You know, he's starting to turn more towards the nervous one in a placating way. He's even flipped the safety on his phaser pistol. I mean, look at the way she's dressed. She's human, but maybe somebody heard her distress call. She makes a point. Wanted to kill us, she'd have shot us by now. The nervous one retorts back.
Yeah,
Go on, what was that you were going to say?
What's the lieutenant's name for the guy that we rescued?
Kearney.
Kearney, yeah. So, yeah, I'll then follow up to say that we were able to rescue Lieutenant Kearney from the planet's surface, who advised us that there may still be survivors on board the Atlantis. We are now here to assist with what's going on.
The crewman on the left, he visibly brightens when you mention this. And he turns to the nervous one, Thomas. "Did you hear that? Kearney survived." Thomas, on the other hand, going, "It could know that because it ate Kearney. You know how that thing works. It eats people. It turns into them. It could be playing tricks with us. It wants to lure us. It wants to take us to Mendela so it can take over the rest of the ship. Look, Thomas. There's two of us, one of her. Okay? If she's here to help, we need to take her to Mendela so we can tell everybody else. How about we just take her to Mendela?" The guy with the Thomas is still shaking. "Is it just you?"
No.
At which point he jolts, rigid. Get him to show themselves! Get him to show themselves right now!
Put the phaser down, and we will talk.
No! I am not putting the phaser down. You tell them to come out here now, or I'll shoot! The other crewman kind of inches his way to the side, and he just kind of goes, please, just... Can you just ask them to slowly come out? Just... It's okay. Everybody's okay. Just ask your people to come out.
At this point, yeah, I will then signal to the rest.
Look, says the calm one. Tom, look. They're all wearing suits. Space suits. They are probably here to rescue us. They heard... They must have gotten a distress call. We don't know. We don't know. It's probably more Rammies. They've disguised themselves to look like us so that they think we'll be tricked into letting them take over the ship.
As far as I'm aware, majority of the Romulans have not started chopping off parts of their ears to look human.
What the hell are you talking about?
Well, that's
Romulans
what
could
you're
look like
saying.
anything. No one's ever seen a Romulan. How would you know what a Romulan looks like? Look. Look, let's just all go and talk to Mandela, okay? We'll talk to Lieutenant Mandela. We'll get this all sorted, okay? Okay? Thomas, the chief was just taken. We need to tell Mandela, if these people have got anything to do with the alien or the Romulans, we still need to take them to see Mandela. If they're here to rescue us, we need to see Mandela. So how about we just lead them to Mandela? There's more of us there. It won't be just the two of us.
Can I try and glean his top-level thoughts on who Mandela is?
I would hasten to remind you... Oh, actually, no, you are...
Yep,
Still a Betazoid, yeah.
Betazoids. Ooh, okay. This is gonna be... Insight and Command, please. Two successes, awesome. So that's over above.
No complications anymore now.
No.
We've obviously got over the initial.
Jinx that one.
Foundry has given up trying to sabotage everything you do. Has just thrown its hands up in exasperation and goes, oh, all right, then have your success. Unless you want me to throw in a threat.
As he sees me glaring at him, he's just like, well, that one's glaring, kill it.
So you were just looking to analyse their surface thoughts, both of them, or one of them in particular?
The calm one that keeps mentioning Mandela. I want to try and discern who this person is to them. And
surface thoughts alone, you get an impression of not the leader of a group that these two are attached to, but certainly the next one down. So the next authority figure down is the impression you're getting. But surface thoughts are revolving around obviously alarm at his actual superior was just abducted. So his thoughts are lingering on that, so that's very much at the forefront. And in between his wonder at you guys, there's also the background thought of this faceless, featureless threat that in the back of his not the back of his mind, but at one side of his kind of peripheral thoughts, not to do with the current situation, but kind of on his peripheral thoughts are concerned about some threat or other that apparently is somewhere on the ship.
Okay.
Okay, says Thomas. Okay. We'll take you to see what was his name?
Endor?
I don't want to say Mendola because in case it's Mengele, and I don't want to say Mengele because that'll get you the wrong impression.
Yeah.
I would quite
like to contact the Navis and if we can establish communication, possibly ask them to raise shields until we ask them to lower them again.
Do you want to chance that with the somewhat nervous crewman over there?
No, that's the one I was wondering whether I could back out of the room or back out of sight momentarily.
We do still have a
moving
communication
slowly.
channel.
Just moving slowly and sort of...
Hold it right there! Don't move!
Yep.
Don't move!
Yep.
Don't move! He's wide-eyed. He's like a deer confronted with a lion. You know, this guy's on full primal panic. I mean, it's everything Bravo can do to shut out the noise of kind of, the adrenal response of this guy is off the charts. It's like background static to Bravo at the moment.
We do still have a communication channel to the survivor, the planetary survivor.
Again, you would have to move your hand to your communicator badge. So you can try it. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying you can try it. I'm just saying that there's obvious consequences of a potential slip of a trigger finger if you don't succeed. So you're still able to try. You've got momentum.
I think it's not necessarily a priority. It's just that if there is a shape-shifting alien and that has just potentially eaten or absorbed someone who is a transport expert, and it realizes that there's another vessel around, it might try and infect the Navis. So I'd like to prevent that if possible. You know? But as we are currently between it and the transporters for now, basically we've got until we're no longer between it and the transporters that we need to necessarily warn them.
Okay.
Sometime between then and now, I want to get this
Let's
done.
go and follow their requirements, and then we can tie in with the Navis.
Yep.
Because at the moment we're very close to being shot, and as much as Andrews is kind of thinking it's only 15 feet, that's a single shot he could get off. If his phaser's set to kill, he could potentially kill one of us.
Yeah.
Plus, as security chief, you're used to dealing with, like hostage situations and stuff. So. Okay. So, the Karma crewman goes, right, so, if you lead, they'll follow, I'll be at the rear. At which point, crewman Thomas swings on and goes, no, you lead the way. I'm gonna have these guys firmly in my sights the entire time. The other one just sighs and goes, okay. I'm crewman Nils. I'll lead you to the command center. At which point, crewman Thomas behind him goes, don't tell them your name!
Well, crewman, perhaps would I believe your colleague might prefer if you pick up the lieutenant commander's weapon rather than doing it.
So he bends down, picks up the rifle. He kind of looks at it like, what the hell? And then just slings it over his shoulder so that the shoulder strap is keeping it on. And pushes through and says, follow me. So, just gonna move you guys to the map.
Yeah,
so,
I'll be deliberately at the back.
Yeah. So, are you willing to basically let them take you the whole way? Or are you going to wait for an opportunity to turn the tables?
If there is an opportunity for during any distraction that happens, for me to kind of get the comm badge and relay it isn't secure, shields out to prevent transport or any kind of signal like that in a moment of just whether it's just turning a corner or something happens, then I'll do that. But I don't think I'm going to take any physical action beyond that.
And of course, there was Commander Andrews' whisper to Bertram to see if he's got any sedatives out. So, what would you like to do? Would you like to just let them escort you the whole way, or do you want to?
I think personally we let them escort us the whole way. It will also give us a chance to get a feel of the situation on board ship, so we can be subtly, obviously, with visual observation, etc. It also gives us a chance to understand the mentality of the survivors. Because at the moment we've got someone that's running very highly on adrenal, someone that's slightly more cognitive. There seems to be ongoing. We've got too many unknowns as a group.
What about everybody else?
Taking us to the person in charge.
Yeah, I think we'll
Sense go in there with them peacefully.
yeah, well trained hostages to go see people in charge. I think that's Starfleet way.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be worthwhile we try and subtly ask like subtle questions, etc.
Okay. What
Just
kind
to
of
try,
questions?
just to try and get an understanding of what's been going on en route, etc. How long do you think this situation's been going on for? Just to try and get an understanding of how long they think they've been surviving in this.
Okay. On the way there, what you notice is that you're not taking any turbo lifts. You're being forced to move up and down access ladders. Certain parts of the ship appear to be sealed off with bulkheads. And those of you who do catch glimpses through these bulkheads, you can see that gravity and life support appear to have been turned off. But this is kind of a once in a while kind of glimpse. The place does bear the signs of wear and tear. Some light fixtures, wall fixtures, panels and whatnot have been popped out of place. There's warping on some of the surfaces probably from the gravitational stresses. There's signs of damage that's been repaired as well as it could be, but there's no obvious signs of any firefights that have occurred. So there's that. Conversationally, when you manage to ask a question that would kind of subtly probe for answers, the guy at the front, Nils, volunteers the information quite readily that he and crewman Thomas, or engineering crewman Thomas, they're part of what he calls the engineering faction. But then he's quickly shut up by crewman Thomas. So that at least gives you the snippet of information that there is one or more factions now operating on the ship. When eventually you do
Some kind of rolling coup d'etat.
come to the command center, let's see, let's put you by there. Let's move Nils to the front. You guys were at the back. So, yeah, not exactly the same, but something. Okay. As you start entering this section, you start noticing, like these two guys in front of you, men wearing phaser pistols in holsters quite readily, quite openly. They have the gruff demeanor and the look of security officers to them. So as you're brought in here, you know, they nod to Nils, who nods back in return. Just gonna move you guys up a smidge. Whoop. So as you're brought to here, Nils nods to this security officer, who opens that door and walks you in.
Just to let you know, I wasn't ignoring your message. I've literally only just noticed it was there. And I think the moment's passed now. But,
so, crewman Thomas, as soon as the door is opened, he kind of races in. As a side note, I'm going to ask you to have to forgive me for all these 1s, 2s, 3s around the place.
Yeah.
It's very hard to actually find deck plans of Star Trek starships that aren't annotated in some way. So, please just pretend they're not there. They don't actually represent anything that's actually there.
You all know that pre-Federation ships had all these signs around the day and night shift put in because they kept getting lost.
It's only 7 decks.
They had primitive night shifts back in the day.
So,
this is Og.
Yeah, as far as you're aware, you are on D deck. So, but you kind of, the transporter room was on, I think it was on D deck, is on this deck, but you kind of took a circuitous route to get there.
So we had to spend most of the time getting from one to the other, one side of the ship to the other, going across C deck, presumably because of a closed-off bulkhead.
So have I got everybody? We've got Nickard, we've got Natala, we've got Bertram, we've got Bravo, we've got Andrews. Cool. As soon as you guys are led into this area, it's the command center of the NX class vessels. So there's the large main console here. It's kind of like the operations center of the ship. So even though the bridge is obviously the bridge where all the command decisions go on, obviously since this is an early warp-capable ship, a lot of their systems were spread out over the ship. So this could be considered the main operations center.
This is where the crewmen get briefed with what the officers have decided to do.
That kind of thing, yeah, and there are readouts and access consoles for all the different systems of the ship. So, whereas Lieutenant Nova gets all of this in one place on one console, back in the old NX classes, you would have, like it is here, an entire room dedicated to it. The fellow over at the main console is obviously the one that crewman Thomas and Nils were talking about. As crewman Thomas, as soon as he comes through the door, he quickly runs up to Mendela and keeps his phaser pistol trained on you guys. Mendela, we found these guys. We found aliens. At which point Nils goes up and says, wait. We don't know they're aliens. But they said they're here to help.
Wow. Well, Lieutenant Natala is definitely an alien.
Yeah. It's not gone without notice, but there's obviously the familiarity with denobulans. But at the same time, it hasn't decreased crewman Thomas's paranoia. But as soon as Nils tries to keep things quiet, Thomas barks back up again. And they took the chief! The chief is gone! At which point, the crewman known as Mendela, he looks around, somewhat alarmed at this. God damn it. Okay. He looks over at Thomas and at Nils, and Nils just kind of gives Mendela a subtle nod in Thomas's direction. At which point Mendela goes, you did a good job, Thomas. Why don't you Why don't you go join the others and appraise them of the situation with the chief? Thomas, he seems a little bit unsure that he wants to let you out of his sight. But then he seems to come to the decision that he feels a lot safer not being anywhere near you guys anyway, so he quickly moves off, opens the door, runs out. At which point Nils just kind of stands to one side. Mendela, in the meantime. Okay. Well, as you've probably guessed, we have a bit of a situation here. So, how do I know you are what you claim to be? You've got the advantage of these suits that I've not seen before. So what's your story?
There's a certain amount of information we're not allowed to reveal. But effectively, we are a human vessel that has received the SOS that was transmitted. We were sent to assist on aid in reconnaissance and recovery, if possible.
Okay. Alright then. That makes things only slightly less complicated than they already were. I'm, sorry you've been dragged into all this. I'm sorry. I'm Ensign Lou Mendela. I didn't ask you your names, sorry. So I presume you all introduce yourselves at this point?
I think we could.
Okay.
Nah, we're just going to be the shadows. We're shadow team.
I would be interested to hear a breakdown of what you understand your current problems to be.
Oh god.
Also, how long do you believe this has been going on for?
Kind of frowns at you when you mention that. And the crewman just to Andrews's southwest just kind of half turns on the console he's sat at. How much time? Let me think. We managed to defeat the Romulans about 2 days ago, I think. And we've been in this sorry situation since.
The thing come from the Romulans?
I'm sorry?
The faceless thing that's been hunting you, did it come from the Romulans, or was this something else after?
Well, that depends on who you ask, I suppose. Around here, the engineering faction, we think that this life form, whatever it is, it's some kind of hostile invader. Chief Phillips certainly seemed to think that it was a life form that was trying to take advantage of the fact that we're at war with the Romulans and has used this opportunity to board the ship in order to infiltrate us, possibly even take over. The command faction doesn't agree. You're all looking at me strange when I mention command faction.
Yeah, what caused the entire ship to break down into effective factions in 2 days? Surely command protocol would have prevented such collapse of structure.
He nods at this and kind of walks over to the end of the table and puts his hands on it wearily. From what I understand, we defeated the Romulans. Their ship went down. The captain ordered a team to go out and shuttle pod to investigate the wreckage to see if there was anything we could use for salvage. Before we managed to get word back from the pod, this spatial distortion just opened up and swallowed the ship. We tried fighting it. It was too powerful for us. Our ship was already banged all to hell, and it drew us right in. I was in engineering so I didn't see any of this firsthand. But apparently sensors picked up another ship in the void with us. And shortly after, they say, pod was released. Like an escape pod or something. The captain gave the order to use the grapnels to bring the pod on board. Security detail was sent to supervise the opening of the pod, and when it did open, something came out of it. It came out of it so fast, nobody got a good look at what the creature was. But from what they say, the creature enveloped one of the crew and then transformed into his likeness. When that happened, somebody panicked. I guess somebody opened fire, and the creature, whatever it was, made a beeline for one of the vents and disappeared into the ship. After that, everybody was already in such strung out shape over having to fight the Romulans for so long that it didn't take long for people to start accusing each other of being the alien. It got so bad that Chief Phillips and First Officer Mallory were the two most vocal opponents over what this thing could be. The chief was under the impression that this was a hostile invader intent on taking us over some at a time, maybe even already spread throughout other parts of the United Earth Alliance, maybe in positions of power. Exo Mallory, on the other hand, thought that this alien was some kind of Romulan bioweapon let loose just after their ship went down. And of course, nobody trusted anybody anymore because anybody could be the alien. So Mallory, Phillips got into it, the captain got between them, and then all of a sudden, a shot went off. The captain fell down dead. Nobody knew what the hell happened. Phillips thought it was Exo Mallory. Mallory thought it was Phillips. And then Chief Phillips took her engineering crew and about half or more of the security crew, and we hauled ourselves up down here in engineering and Deck D, where we had control of life support and the command systems. The command faction under Mallory and what was left of the security teams and the bridge crew hauled themselves up in the computer core and some of Deck C, some of the science labs on Deck C. The science and medical faction, however, they currently occupy sickbay, the arboretum, and the food storage, as well as the science bay. The science and medical faction, they haven't aligned themselves with anybody as of yet. They're kind of the neutral ground. Everybody has to deal with them because they're the guys with the food. The command crew and everybody else the command faction, and everybody else has to deal with us, the engineering crew, because we have access to life support. And it's been in a horrible stalemate. The thing of it is, Mallory has ordered everybody to go around in pairs, just in case anybody could be the alien. So anybody even remotely suspected of being caught on their own, with having been separate from somebody else, is immediately spaced via airlock. No exceptions. Chief Phillips, she's shut down life support to an entire area, regardless of who was in it, if she even suspected the alien was in that area or on that deck. And now you tell me the chief's been kidnapped by the command faction. Shit. Well, that can only mean one thing. Mallory's gonna try her for treason and probably execute her. Which leaves me in charge of the engineering group. So, once again, sorry you found us this way. Because I'm not sure any of us are getting out of this alive.
Talking about getting out of this alive, can you perhaps tell us who jerry-rigged the transporter console?
I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
And I think that is a brilliant point to end it for tonight.
Talking about dun dun dun.
Isn't it really annoying that because the time period is 2372 that Voyager doesn't make contact with the Federation until 2373. So that's next year. So we don't know
It's
about
a little
species
further on than that at the
8472.
moment, but yeah.
But it's like Voyager hasn't conformed the Federation about species 8472. We don't know about the Dominion and Shapeshift. So
just barely.
We've heard rumours of them.
We've heard rumours of the Dominion, but we don't know the extent of the
Shapeshifters.
founders. Yeah.
Nothing has happened with Voyager yet. Voyager hasn't been commissioned or tasked yet.
Yeah.
So it's the start of the changing
It's the
scare.
very, very start. We're talking about probably a week or so after Cisco and that lot came back from the Gamma Quadrant with news of the founders.
Yeah, well, Voyager was launched in 2371.
Yeah. So
Voyager was officially lost in 2373. So, yeah, it's
almost like
Voyager's
it's a
gone
communication
missing.
hub for another year or so.
Yeah.
So it hasn't happened yet as regards to these guys.
Yeah.
But it's not far off of happening. Okay, so any questions before we sign off on anything? Was there anything that you didn't like that you think needs to be changed or needs to be added?
If I have to do sort of like drop someone's heart back in and it also turns into a giant mouth and eats my hands, I'm out of here.
It's alright, we can always replicate your hands through the transporter.
Yeah, but by that point I'll have fin cells with my cells, so I'm gone. So that was what I was thinking this entire time. This thing engulfs you and transforms into you. Oh, fuck.
Well, if there's nothing else to add from anybody,
yep.
Then
I was actually reading through some of the rules again, and I discovered that ranged combat actually starts off with a difficulty of 2.
Yes. So what you're saying is I've been treating you exceptionally well so far.
It's on whether we were the targets.
Including when you were the targets, yes. Yep, we'll take that. We'll bear that in mind moving
forward.
forward.
Thanks for that, Jan.
It's just everybody's had auto aim on so far.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's a similar thing with ship weaponry as well. There's a base difficulty of firing certain types of weapons, mostly the beam weapons, a difficulty 2, whereas firing torpedoes is difficulty 3. So, yeah.
Oof.
Anyways, as far as the stream is now concerned, I'll be signing off here. So thank you everybody who's watched, and thank you everybody who's attended. This was another great one, and of course we've met with stupendous amounts of intrigue now, so we'll carry this on next week and see how the crew manages. Till then, we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Forward to it.